When I was around 11 or 12 years old, my mother took me to the beach with her to a beach day with her friends from her work. It was a beautiful day, the sun shining on the water, and I was quite happy to be there. However, I became somewhat bored quickly because there were no kids my age, only toddlers. I was able to snag a round floaty and decided to go into the ocean alone. Being an avid swimmer, I decided to float out past the waves, where I could be alone and just chill. I drifted further and further away from my mother and her group of friends, but I knew my limits, and stayed close enough that I could still make sure I didn't drift out too far. All of a sudden, I heard yelling coming from the shore, and I turned in my floaty to see my mother and her friends waving and pointing at something behind me. At that moment, the only thought that came to my mind was a shark. I decided not to turn around and look, and started swimming back to my mother as fast as I could. Once I got to shore, my mother said that they had saw a sea turtle bob up behind me, and was telling me to look at it. She said the weirdest thing was that it looked like it had hair on its head, but that it definitely was a sea turtle. I spent the rest of the day looking for that sea turtle, BC I had never seen one before. My mother and I left the beach and headed home, late afternoon. I was very disappointed that I didn't get to see the sea turtle, though. As I read my library book that night, cozy and snuggled in bed, I heard the telephone ring. I was curious as to who would be calling that late at night, but continued my book. My mother walked into my room, with tears in her eyes, and told me that that was one of her co-workers from the beach. She told me that a little boy had drowned that day, 2 houses down from where we were. My mother shared that they were positive it was the little boy they saw bob up behind me, not a sea turtle. She comforted me, and in my young mind, I couldn't truly comprehend what had happened that day. But as I grew older, I never forgot it. So many times I wished I had turned around, and I pondered if maybe I could have saved the little boy. It still haunts me to this day, over 40 years later. I went on to save many people from drowning throughout my life, including my own little boy. But I've never ever forgotten this childhood memory, and I wish I could send a letter to his parents. I've tried researching his name, or even an article about his death, but I haven't been successful. This happened around the mid-80s, at Edisto Beach, South Carolina. I pray somehow his family finds this painting one day, and knows that he has not been forgotten, and will always be in my memories and in my heart.